This episode is brought to you by Kavanaugh's Grill, one of my favorite places to eat and drink in any PA. They've got one of the best outdoor patios with 13 TVs and over 20 beers on tap. You can also dine inside at this cozy Irish-style pub where your beer never goes empty. Did I mention how delicious their food is? Their in-house smoked brisket, barbecue ribs, and wings are to die for. So grab your friends and have a drink on me at Kavanaugh's. Mention code STACKS for one free draft beer with purchase of any entree when you dine in. Located at 163 North Main Street in Mountaintop, Kavanaugh's is open at 4 p.m. during the week and 12 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday during football season. Dine in today at Mountaintop's only Irish-style pub. This episode is brought to you by the Pest Rangers. Finding insects in your home can be a real pest. I know I felt that way when I discovered termites living rent-free in my house. But thanks to the team at the Pest Rangers, I'm no longer bugging out over this issue. So if any creepy crawlers are cramping your style, there's no ifs, ands, or bugs about it. You gotta call the Pest Rangers. For more information on how to rid your home from unwanted pests, call the Pest Rangers today at 570-826-1114 or visit them online at thepestrangers.com. This episode is brought to you by Burn, the fitness company behind the Today Show approved Burn Board. If I'm being honest, working out can be a real chore, especially as a new dad in desperate need of sleep and cardio. Burn is founded by NEPA native Jimmy T. Martin, and his Burn Board offers a low-impact core and cardio experience unlike anything I've done before. They have hundreds of on-demand workouts that are great for beginners, seasoned athletes, and out-of-shape podcast hosts who love supporting small businesses. My wife and I use it pretty frequently throughout the week, and it's honestly a great way to burn a ton of calories without burning a ton of cash. Not to mention, it's a great tool for skiers, runners, wrestlers, and hockey players. Jimmy is offering all On the Stacks listeners 15% off when they use the code STACKS15. Visit theburn.com today to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15 at checkout. Again, that's theburn, THEBRRN.com to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15. It's time to get on board today with Burn.
I used to practice my signature.
Why?
Because I always thought that I was going to be something. I always wanted to believe I was going to be something, some kind of professional athlete, whether it was baseball, basketball, golf, bowling at the time, whatever it was. It was something that I thought I wanted to see myself as, and something I wanted to work towards.
Oh yeah, whoa. Look, they can never keep me down, I'm going. And if I ever fail, just know I'll go again. I never quit, cause I know that every loss may lead to another win. I'm going up.
Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr. This is the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with professional golfer Brandon Matthews. What's up, podcast? It's Bill Corcoran Jr., host of the On the Stacks podcast here in the Blue Door studio, protected by our friends at Ricci Security Solutions. Brandon Matthews, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bill. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely, man. And welcome home.
Thanks. Yeah, crazy.
How's it feel to be home?
Wild. It's been a whirlwind of a year. So to be home and kind of relax a little bit for a couple of days. Well, not really relax. I have my charity event up at Scranton this weekend, which honestly, everybody that's listening to this or sees any of this, and I'm going to do a couple media things on Friday. Everybody's encouraged to come up and watch. We have some PGA Tour professionals, some guys who used to play on the PGA Tour, some up-and-comers coming up and playing. It's going to be an awesome event, and we're going to raise a hell of a lot of money for charity, too.
Awesome. That's really cool. You do that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. And you also just got married. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Congratulations to me. Condolences for her, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome, man. Good for you. You got a lot of stuff going on right now.
Yeah. No. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's been, like I said, it's been an awesome year. I'm fortunate enough to have a rock star of a wife, and she's, she stays busy herself, and she's doing incredible with her career, and incredibly proud of her, what she's doing. So it works out really well for the both of us, that we're able to kind of both stay busy and do what we have to do.
Yeah, it's great to have a super supportive wife, right?
It's amazing.
It's always good. I say the same thing about my wife. She's so super supportive of everything that I do, and like I always tell everybody, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to do all this stuff.
No question about it. It was I was actually playing with a guy yesterday that was telling me a story about Bruce Fleischer. Bruce Fleischer said, "I'd be Jack Nicklaus if I had Barbara Nicklaus as a wife." And he's like, nothing against my wife. I love my wife, but Barbara Nicklaus encouraged everything, encouraged him to go, do this, and encouraged the work ethic that he had. Never really complained that, hey, I mean, that's the one thing Danielle's unbelievable about. She's like, you're at the golf course, just stay there. Like, stay there until dark. Go there when the sun rises. Like, I'm never, ever, ever going to get mad at you for that.
You married the right woman.
I sure did.
Yeah, good for you, dude.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right. So you're home, for not a lot of time, but like when you do come home, like what do you look forward to? Like, what do you look forward to when you come back to Northeastern Pennsylvania?
Pizza.
I knew it. I was going to ask you what your favorite pizza was.
Well, Cala Russo's.
Okay.
That's kind of a family thing. So I have to say that, but it actually is my favorite though. The tomato garlic's off the charts.
Oh, solid.
Yeah, 100%. I'm probably gonna take a few guys there on Saturday that are coming in for the charity event, so that'll be fun. But yeah, I mean, I look forward to that. Obviously, seeing people that I haven't seen in a while. The greatest thing about this area is that I can come home and never skip a beat. No one looks at me differently. I don't have to put on a different face for people. And not that I have to do that often. It's just back here, I'm just so comfortable. It's a nice feeling to have. And it's pretty cool. Not a lot of people know this. We have some pretty amazing golf around here. And when I tell people about the architectural background that's here, and once they kind of understand it, they're like, wow, like how did that happen? And it's kind of a cool little thing. Like the coal era obviously was booming and Scranton was booming then. That was golf architecture like prime time. So we have some amazing golf courses, some amazing people around here. And I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I just really enjoy coming back when I'm able to.
On the Stacks will be back in a flash after a word from our sponsor.
There's a larger community impact in handling malpractice cases. Bad doctors in bad hospitals or hospital administrators need to be held to account to ensure that all residents of Northeastern Pennsylvania receive adequate health care. At our office, when we handle a claim on behalf of a client, we not only pursue their claim and achieve justice and get them back on their feet, but we also ensure that the hospital policy that caused their injury, or the doctor that caused their injury, or the administrator that caused their injury is held accountable and either changed or removed so that it doesn't happen again. We really try to improve healthcare in Northeastern Pennsylvania by making fundamental changes at hospitals to ensure that all residents and all patients are treated fairly.
And now we're back on the Stacks.
Yeah. So like, all right. So when you're living in Florida, right? But you obviously travel all over the world for golf. So when you're, traveling golf, doing whatever you're doing, like, and when people ask you like where you're from, like where's home, like how do you explain to people where you're from?
I just say Scranton, honestly, because that's the only way people know where I'm from.
Because they don't know Wilkes-Barre, right?
Correct. And so like, I mean, I'm directly in the middle of Scranton and Wilkes-Barre where I grew up. So it's funny. I almost sometimes don't even say Scranton anymore. I just say, did you ever watch The Office?
Dude, I say the same exact thing.
I mean, that's the only thing. And they're like, oh, that's a real place.
And then you're like, yeah, that's where I'm from.
Like, no, that's a real place. Like, how did you not think that this is a real place? Are you like geographically like just completely out of touch? Like, what do you mean that's a real place?
Yeah.
So, yeah, people are kind of funny about it. And, but yeah, it's amazing. Obviously we're coming to the time that is the reason why I live where I live now. But the end of spring, summer, beginning of fall here is pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right, cool. So you're in town for the tournament, right? And you got a lot of other tournaments coming up, man. You got a lot on your mind. How do you
Crazy.
How do you keep it all together?
It's hard to. I mean, it's if someone has played as much golf as I have this entire year, and listen, I love golf more than anybody that plays golf for a living. I can honestly say that. I really do. I love everything about the game. I started this charity event for a couple different reasons. I mean, the first and foremost reason is to give back to the community that I grew up in, because I think that's just so important to give back for what shaped you. And beyond that, I love the pro-am aspect of golf. I love bringing the business owners, the CEOs, the people that were successful in life that love golf so much and do it as a hobby, with the people that they would give anything to hit a golf shot like once. And so that's a really cool aspect, because also the opportunities that are involved with that. I was talking to actually played in the Pro-Am with the director of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am a couple weeks ago in Napa. And I was talking to him. I said, Steve, honestly, like, I'm not joking when I say this. Like, your tournament's one of my favorite tournaments because it encompasses what golf really is, what it truly means, and how valuable it can be for everybody. And everything involved with golf, and also the fact that it's an individualistic sport. That's one of the reasons why, I stopped playing everything else, because it's like you can go pitch a no-hitter and still lose a game. And everything is on you with golf. And that's a pretty cool aspect for me, because I've always had a good work ethic. And I'll give you a quick, cool little story that explains how important work ethic is, right? So Tiger just got finished with his round, and John Daly was in the lead by one going into Sunday, and John's in the men's grill on his about 6th or 7th beer.
That's right.
And Tiger walks in the locker room. He goes, "Hey, T, what's going on?" He goes, "JD." He goes, "Come on, just have one beer with us. Come on." Tiger goes, "John, if I had your talent, I'd be doing the same thing as you are." And he just walked away. And so the greatest athletes in our sport of all time have had a work ethic that outperforms everyone else. So I think that's just a cool thing, that if you're able to put in the time, obviously there has to be a little bit of talent level there to get wherever. But if you put in the time and effort, you can kind of achieve anything you want.
Where do you think your work ethic comes from?
I watched my dad at a young age stay at work for a long time and do what he had to do to, provide for his family. And I think a little bit of that, and I also think I just get obsessive over something very quickly. And my dad's, I think it's more the competitiveness that the work ethic comes from. My dad had a ton of competitiveness in him, and he instilled that in me, and I did not like to lose.
So, all right, so let's talk about the obsession thing, because I like to talk about that because I'm kind of the same mindset, we'll say, right? So you say you obsess over things, and you obsess to probably to be the best, because you absolutely love golf to the point that you're obsessed, right?
No question.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Like how does that help you perform at the highest level?
So yes, it does if I use it in the proper way. I'm still learning. I'm 28. I still think I have a little bit of time to go to learn and truly be disciplined enough to use it to my advantage. I play too much golf. That's my downfall. And people are going to say, well, how is that your downfall? Like, what? It's the fact that I'm going from tournament to tournament. My mind gets very tired, and I kind of almost slightly I don't want to say burn myself out, because I'll give you a story about that in a second, but I get very tired. I get a little bit just repetitive with what I'm doing. Instead of, all right, let's do 2, maybe 3 weeks in a row, and then take a week or 2 off, and then come back completely refreshed, ready, excited. And that excitement is what is going to drive you to put in those hours, right? So I've been trying really hard to kind of find the perfect balance of, all right, what are we going to do? How are we going to figure out a way to relax? And then when you come back, really go as hard as you can on the days that you're able to go that hard, but also realize how important rest and recovery is, especially, for me, I've had some injuries and stuff like that eventually, I'm going to need to get taken care of. But, I'm at a point in my life, a point in my career where it's a really important year for me. If I'm able to have a good year, maybe I can win once or twice. But most importantly, make sure I continue to keep my tour card, make the playoffs, finish in the top 70 in the regular season, and go from there. Then that takes a lot of pressure off me financially, the way I can provide for, my family and then generations moving forward and things like that. It just takes a little bit of pressure off, and then I can maybe, go fix my injuries a little bit that I've had, and then come back even stronger and be able to do the things that I want to do. But anyway, the burnt out thing, I do want to tell you a quick story because this is pretty good. So this one guy that I know, incredibly successful guy. He's one of my closest friends. He's 80 years old now, about to turn 81. And he owned a very, very successful steel industry in Pittsburgh. And his work ethic was so off the charts, and he expected perfection from everybody. And he didn't believe in anything less than that. And that's why he was so successful. So I come back when I was at Temple from playing about a 5-week stretch, I think. And he goes, "Hey, what happened that last tournament? You got up to 45th in the world, in amateur world rankings. You go and shoot 80? I'm like, honestly, Mr. C, I think I got a little burnt out there toward the end. He looks at me, he goes, burnt out? Burnt out. He goes, Ben Hogan got hit by a fucking bus. And I look at him, I go, you're not wrong. I'm going to go hit some balls. So when I don't like to say burnt out anymore because of that, and we always joke about that. And but he's right? So the burnout factor only comes in mentally, really. Physically, you can get over that hump as long as you're doing all the right things. But if you need a mental break, you can take a day or two off mentally. But physically, the work ethic always has to be there.
Yeah. How do you prepare mentally?
You just got to believe. I think that's the biggest thing. I believe I deserve to be where I'm at. I believe I deserve to be above where I'm at. I believe I've worked hard enough to get there. I believe I've worked hard enough to stay there. So, and also the vision of it, right? Seeing yourself doing the things that you want to do leads you to do those things. So it's the grand expectation theory, right? So that's a big part in the way I mentally prepare for things. And I'm trying to think of the guy that it was. I can't think of the name right now. But there's a story of someone that was playing. I think actually it was Hogan. And there's a story about Hogan. I was just actually reading a book about it. And Hogan practiced writing his acceptance letter the week that he was about to stop playing golf. And there's a couple, I'm not sure if that's the exact story, but there was a couple stories about him mentally going and practicing his smile in the mirror before, the final round of a tournament, and doing things like that to prepare his mind that, he's going to win that day. And so there's certain things you can do to just, and it's not even tricking your mind, but it's preparing your mind for what you believe is going to happen.
It's manifesting, right?
Yeah, no question about it.
100%. And kind of earlier, before we started, you signed one of your gloves for me, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And I complimented you on how nice your signature is. And you telling that story right now reminded me of that conversation we had before we came on. So take me through that again.
Yeah, so it's crazy. So I mean, I went to Catholic school, so we had to have good handwriting, right? And I always loved writing. I always loved writing in cursive. I always thought it was very important, and it helps me to this day because everyone, at the beginning, people, you write like a girl, like, you know what I mean? Then it was making fun of, and now it's like, oh, everyone's like, you have such nice handwriting, and I like to write handwritten thank you notes to people. I think that's a lost art, and I think more people should do that because it's very, very important. But writing those thank you notes in good cursive is always good, but I always like to practice it, and I always was kind of, again, the obsessive perfectionist, whatever, and I used to practice my signature.
Why?
Because I always thought that I was going to be something. I always wanted to believe I was going to be something, some kind of professional athlete, whether it was baseball, basketball, golf, bowling at the time, whatever it was. It was something that I thought I wanted to see myself as, and something I wanted to work towards.
So you basically manifested that from a young age. How old were you when you said that you were started to really practice that signature?
God,
how far back could you remember?
It was a while. I mean, it had to start as early as 10, 11 years old.
That's young.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at that age, you're like, one day I'm going to be signing my name and handing this out.
Yeah. And I really started, I started doing it then. And then I really, really got back into it when I started realizing who Arnold Palmer was.
He's got a nice signature.
I think that's a big thing. And obviously him being from Pennsylvania as well, he grew up, the way he grew up, and I always idolized him. I thought the way he conducted himself, and I mean, he was the king, right? So, in the way he was towards people, and the way he treated everybody, he was never standoffish. In his later years, when he was whether it was at Latrobe, Laurel Valley, his places that he was at in the summer, or whether it was at Bay Hill during the winter, if you approached him and hey, I'm from Northeast Pennsylvania, I've heard countless stories. Hey, I'm from Northeast Pennsylvania. He'd say, oh, are you really? I've played I played this place. Come on, sit down, have a drink with me. And that's just something that I think I've always strived to be, and I've always said it's a lot harder to be an ass than it is to be nice. And you learn that over the years. And there's also a happy medium too, which I'm still learning. And my wife is teaching me a little bit in that sense that you need to be a little bit more selfish of your time in order to reach your goals fully.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, so kind of talking about, home and NEPA again, a couple things I just want to touch on. First of all, shout out to our friend Lorenzo Medico for
no question about it,
for hooking us up here and getting us
the best.
Yeah, getting us introduced for you.
Low the voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the Curtis family. From what I understand, you and the Curtis family go way back. And I was telling you beforehand, Eric Curtis, he edits the video of the show here, so he's going to make you look really good. Not that you don't look up, he's going to make you look like even better.
I would hope so.
So shout out to also the Curtis family. You guys go way back.
We do, yeah. They grew up right up the street from me. I used to be at that house probably more than I was at my own house growing up. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, so I've known all of them since I've been a little kid, 5, 6, 7 years old.
Yeah, and what about like your dad? Like when was it that your dad kind of got you into golf? Like, how far back does that go?
So I have a picture of a putter over my chest and a Greg Norman straw hat on my head at my christening.
That's very young.
That's pretty young, right?
Yeah, as young as you can get, I think.
Yeah. So, but I moved to the house that I grew up in DuPont when I was, I believe, 2.5 years old. And there's pictures of me at the first house that we were at in Duryea with plastic clubs in the backyard there. That was, I mean, the backyard was, I mean, it was no bigger than this. You know, it was like a little, like 2x4 backyard.
Yeah.
And so I remember hitting, I mean, the one thing I'm fortunate enough to have is a good memory with certain things going back. And Danielle always makes fun of me about it. But like, I actually truly remember like hitting plastic golf balls over that fence in Duryea. So that was about, you know, I would say 1 to 2 years old was when I started like actually picking it up a little bit. And then my dad used to take me in the car seat and put me in the cart up Emannon. My grandfather used to take me to Pine Hills and go over on the short course over there, the par 3 course. And then he always used to tell the story, you know, he always used to say, Grandpa, take me on the big course. And like, you know, so that's kind of a cool little thing. But when I stopped playing all other sports, was probably around 14, really started focusing on golf.
And now you're on the PGA Tour.
It's kind of wild to say.
It is.
I don't think, I still haven't realized it yet.
It hasn't hit you?
I'm just too busy for it to hit me yet.
What does it feel like? Explain it. What do you think? What's going through your mind?
Just keep working hard. You know what I mean? Like I'm not letting it hit me yet because professional golf is so different, right? It's individualistic and you have to continue to keep going. The stage I'm at right now, it's very important for me to play well this fall because the category that I'm in, to put it in like the simplest terms. So there's 50 guys in my category. It's a zipper order. So it goes number 1 from the regular season, number 1 from the finals, number 2 from the regular season, number 2 from the finals. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And it goes that way all the way down the list. So I'm 19 on the list because I finished 10th in the regular season. So I reshuffle after the fall in my own category. So it depends on how I am stacked up against the rest of my category after the fall. And that depends on what tournaments I'm going to get in next year, at least at the beginning of next year. So it's important for me to obviously get in as many tournaments as possible so I can set my schedule a little bit better. And I mean, it all takes care of itself if you win, right? That's why I kind of bust people and tell them, I'm like, winning solves problems in what I do. So you just got to beat everyone else that week.
Yeah. What's a typical day look like for you?
On the road or at home?
Kind of both, because it's probably, kind of mixed, right?
Yeah. So at home, I try to give myself a lot of mental rest. I do enjoy going to my home club, Turtle Creek. When I'm back in Florida, I think the people there are amazing. Kind of remind me of people back here, so that's why I like.
It's like a second home. Feels like a home to you.
It's amazing. The people are fantastic to me there. Very fortunate. So, I mean, I'll go to the gym at whatever it is, 6:37 in the morning. Come back, hang out with Danielle until she's ready to go to work and do what she has to do, or she might be already gone already. Who knows? And then I head to the course for a little while, and then just head back home and just kind of again try to find a happy medium of just trying to relax. But when I'm at the course, I'll do a lot more of the short game putting stuff than I used to do. Instead of sit there and grind and beat balls for forever. And I think that's helped me a lot throughout the past few years because it was funny, I was telling my caddy, I'm like, God, I haven't really hit the ball that well this year. And he's like, dude, you finished 10th. I'm like, I'm telling you, I haven't hit it well this year.
I can do better.
I can do better here. Like you could see, but that's credit to me practicing a lot more on the things that are a little bit more important. My putting average going in the right direction, my scrambling percentage going in the right direction, and things like that. But again, I found a happy medium to not really overexert myself when I'm home, and then figure out a way to really prepare leading up to the tournament, make sure everything's in good shape. And obviously, if I'm, in a spot where I'm not happy with, I'm going to grind. I'm going to go hit balls for 6 hours. I'm going to go do whatever I need to do. But, over the past few years, I've been fortunate enough that I've felt like I've been hitting it good enough at most times where I don't need to sit there and overexert myself. And I felt like I've been able to conserve the energy a little bit more and not be tired at the end of weeks and so on and so forth.
Yeah, very cool. So, all right. So you mentioned your wife Danielle quite a bit, and I think it's so important, to have her support and everything. And she's got a lot going on too. She's an entrepreneur herself,
Almost more than I do,
from what I understand. So tell me a little bit about what she's got. She's got some cool things going on. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So she started DM Creative House. Oh gosh. Well, she started doing things on the side probably around 2015, 16. She started her business in 2017 and has built it up tremendously. I mean, she has some amazing, amazing clients. She's probably got about 40 or 50 clients now just in her business that she's built. Couple employees, and then she just got hired as the CMO of Airways.
Now, what is that?
So Airways is a really, really cool platform. So they're kind of taking the stance on, we don't want any really negativity on our platform. And so anybody who's, interacting on there, you're not going to see those people on Instagram or Twitter that sit there and just try to bash you.
Trolls.
Yeah. And that's why for me, like, I'm not a big social media guy. I just don't think it's healthy for people to sit there and bash people. Again, like I was saying before, it's a lot easier to be nice. And I think being nice is such a rewarding feeling. Because to make someone else feel good is such a good thing, right? So that's one part of it, but it's basically the athletes that are going to be on there. They're onboarding athletes consistently. She's actually got an interview with Brett Hull today. But all the athletes that they're onboarding, there's some pretty awesome ones. And if you want to go follow Airways, you can kind of keep up with.
Yeah.
With
who else is involved? You were telling me a few before we started.
Yeah. So Michael Murphy is the guy who started. He is a pretty amazing guy. The things that he's done in his life and the way he's gone about it, his work ethic is so off the charts. And that's something that inspires Danielle to be as great as she possibly can, seeing how hard he's worked and how successful he is, which is really cool. But Michael Jordan's a minority investor, which is kind of wild.
It's pretty awesome.
It's
pretty,
kind of
pretty
wild.
Big deal.
Again, growing up here and just some of the things that, we are fortunate enough to be around and see on a daily, weekly basis. It's kind of wild. You kind of got to bring yourself back to reality sometimes and realize, and we do that pretty well. I like to, I like being back here and just being around people that are, just a little, and again, I love everybody that I'm around, all my friends and all, but being back here is just a little bit different. You can kind of just take the weight off and
being home
and just not worry about it.
A little less pressure, right?
Yeah. No societal pressure, no anything like that, which it's not that we feel a ton of that down there, but it's more, you're just so much more comfortable when you're back here, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But we're again, like I said, we're very fortunate to have the friends that we have, the people we have in our lives, the opportunities that we have in our careers. But the athletes that they're onboarding at Airways, it takes a completely different stance for how they monetize their content creation.
Very cool.
So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, the amount that they take from the content creators is almost criminal, really.
Yeah, basically all of it.
Basically all of it. And yeah. It's kind of wild, right?
Yeah.
So, like Danielle is a client that had a reel that had, I think, over 30 million views. And on Instagram, I mean, you wouldn't believe how little that generated.
Yeah, probably like $100 or something,
I
right?
mean, it is crazy. So what Airways is doing, they're completely flipping that around. You know, Airways is taking, you know, a smaller percentage and giving the athlete the majority percentage of what they create. And there's going to be opportunities on there. You're going to be able to sign up and for the content of specific players or for the whole platform. And you're going to be able to watch that and gain access to those players' thoughts, maybe what they do on a daily basis. And it's going to help, you know, whether it's kids or whether people are just very interested and into sports and get into, you know, that kind of personal life, a little bit of what they do. And, you know, it's going to be a whole new insight of what these high level athletes do and how they are so good at what they do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do some awesome things with it.
It's pretty wild to see, you know, what it started as, what it's becoming, who they're onboarding. I mean, I'm proud as hell of her.
Awesome. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. I wish her the best of luck.
So do I.
Yeah. So, all right. So what has been up to this point? What's been the greatest moment of your career?
That's a tough one. I mean, you know, obviously winning school, you know, your wins are awesome. You want to talk about that, but you also kind of want to think about what the greatest moments in your career actually were. I think the greatest moment in my career was having a horrible 2019 and all encompassed, because I wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't. I was going through a lot of pain. Golf wasn't fun for the first time in my entire life. Mentally, it was the strangest thing ever because I was always so positive mentally, and I wasn't positive. You know, I was shutting people out in my life, and it wasn't a good time. And it's crazy. I just had this, you know, kind of couple day stretch revelation that was like, all right, you lost your card on the web. It was on there for 2 years. What are you going to do? You're in pain almost every day. The fact you're going to have to get up 2 hours earlier, is that going to stop you from doing what you want to do for a living and what you've dreamt of since you've been a kid? So instead, unfortunately for me now, like, you know, if I have a 7 a.m. tee time, I'm up at basically, you know, best case scenario, depending on how far away I'm staying from the golf course, 3:30. And you get used to it, you know, but instead of just waking up and being in pain and going to the golf course, and then a week later I have pain going down my right leg or whatever it may be. But I learned so much that year. And I think that year encompassed being down at, you know, the bottom of what has been an entire lifetime of golf for me. That was the hardest year on me. And going down to Latin America and playing the last two events and getting my Latin America tour card back.
Was this also the year that you missed that putt?
Yes.
When the fan
Yes.
yelled?
Yes.
Right?
So that was yeah. So that was the last Latin America event that I played of the regular season. So I basically had 2 Latin America events in the regular season because I already missed Q school. So I had 2 events to go down there, and I mean, basically I needed a top 10 both events to keep my Latin America tour card for next year. And I finished 5th and 2nd. I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere here. And then unfortunately COVID hit that whole next year, but it wasn't a horrible thing for me really, because I actually got to take a break, and I sometimes don't give myself breaks. And then when I came back from that, I started playing really good golf, and I had a different mindset than I previously had. And the support Danielle showed me for what I went through and for my family and everything like that. And I think the people in your life are very important about who you surround yourself with. And I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of great people in my life.
So you'd say that the worst year of your career, of your golf career, was actually the greatest lesson that's ever kind of moved you forward.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been told, and I've always believed, that the way you handle adversity is what defines you. So, yeah, I mean, I think I handled it pretty well. I think we're in a good spot now, and everybody's going to go through difficult times in their careers, their lives, and you might not know about any of it. People might not share it with you, but everyone's going to go through that. So to be able to understand that, and to be able to pick yourself up off the ground and say, come on, you're not done yet. Just give it that little extra. Be able to give it that little extra to be as successful as you want to be, to reach your dreams, or reach your goals. I think that's a very, very, very important lesson for people.
Powerful stuff, man.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Let's manifest it right now.
I don't know. Obviously, I've seen myself, I constantly see myself with a trophy on the PGA Tour. I see myself being one of the best players in the world. I see all that for myself, but for me, I've switched a little bit right now because of how long of a year I've had, to focusing a little bit more on short term.
You gotta enjoy this moment, right? You said before you were still, it's not even hitting you yet, right?
No, and I honestly almost don't want it to hit me really, until I get a break. But right now I have 4 more events left in the fall season. I'm really focusing on those ones. I think there's a couple really good golf courses for me to finish out the year. I'm really excited for them, and I think if I can just finish out this year good, it's going to be much more rewarding to sit down after I'm done with it and go, okay, well, we're on the PGA Tour, and now we're, top 10 or top 20 in FedEx Cup points going into January. Like that's a really cool thing. So I'm just kind of trying to look short term right now. Obviously, there's certain times where I'll try to, like you said, manifest the ideology of like, okay, you're there, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing everything you wanted to do. But it's important for me to stay in the present right now because of what I have coming up.
Absolutely. How can our listeners connect with you online? Social media. I know you're not a big social media guy.
No, it's funny, and I'm sure there's people who listen on here that have tried to reach out to me on there, and it's like my agent handles a lot of it because I try to.
You probably get a bazillion requests, right?
Yeah, no, I do.
I was one of them.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, they're Lorenzo.
Funny.
You know what I mean? Like having you come on, like it's
But that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I do get a lot of requests, and that's not why I don't go on there. I try to limit myself to how, because you can get so caught up in just like you're just
scrolling
like this and like just like drooling over yourself, like
yeah.
And I think that's for people who want to be successful in things. You just need a break from that. And I get my news from Twitter. I see some news stuff and kind of keep up with current events in the world. And I look at one or two other things throughout the day. And I just kind of try to push it off to the side.
Try to focus on your game.
Yeah, but focus more on life in general, that things that are more important. Because, there's a lot of issues in society now, mentally and psychologically. And I think a lot of that derives from social media and false expectations that people believe are actually true things when they're not. So, so I try to kind of shut that down as quickly as I can. And obviously social media is great for a lot of things. Incredible. I mean, my wife makes her living off of it. I can't say it's not great for a lot of things, but there's a lot of things that it's detrimental towards, and you just kind of got to be careful about how much information and those dopamine hits you're taking.
Yeah, totally. Well, man, this has been great. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming in today and spending some time with me. I know you're a super busy guy and you got a million things going on, so I really appreciate your time here.
Yeah, thanks for having me in. I love doing this stuff.
Yeah, and keep making NEPA proud, man. You're doing some awesome things. I wish you the best of luck on the tour.
Thank you.
And I think you're going to do great, man. I'm rooting for you. We're all rooting for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Brandon Matthews on the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door Studio. Thanks for joining me. If you want to see more On the Stacks content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/onthestackspodcast or search the hashtag #OnTheStacks on Instagram and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on The Stacks.